This thing sounds like it has personalities, is kicking ass and taking names and not giving a damn about it. And I love it for that very reason. This is excellent. Okay, it's final time. We're gonna be reacting to Black Sabbath Bad with Dio, and this time around we're gonna be hitting one of my favorite songs ever, which is The Mob Rules from the album The Mob Rules. One of the best songs ever written in history, in my opinion, because it embodies everything that makes rock and roll the best genre in music there is. Changed my mind. And also, well, because it has one of my favorite singers ever, which is Ronnie James Dio. And one of my favorite bands ever, which is Black Sabbath. So it's incredible to see that happening. And just a little bit of trivia: when somebody told me that Dio actually was part of Black Sabbath, I never bought it as a kid. I was like, nah, you're kidding me. Why? Because it's such a great combination and also so insane that I don't think it will ever happen. And in reality, well, it did happen, and it blew my head off. And in this video, we're going to be analyzing the first track that I listened to from that iteration. But before we go, if this is your first time channel, I welcome you, because in here we analyze the music that we love from the perspective of an active musician and professional music producer, but using language that everybody can understand in a way to expand knowledge when it comes to music production, songwriting, and music appreciation. So, with that being said, let's jam. Here we go. So here we go, The Mob Rules by Black Sabbath. Sorry for interrupting, but you know the drill. First and foremost, what a fun and exciting track this is, right? Straight from the beginning, the whole thing is bouncing with energy, plenty of rock and roll attitude projected to us. This is just fantastic. I can't deny that this is one of my favorite tracks ever. And even though I happen to be a sucker for sad and stupidly complex music from time to time, damn it, this raw, powerful, straight to the point kind of rock and roll, it's unbeatable. Fantastic. Where to start? First and foremost, the tone of the guitar is excellent, don't you think? It has that Black Sabbath aspect to it, but somehow it feels different. Because, of course, this is this particular period of the band that they went for something slightly more energetic and also a little bit more, well, it's different because Dio is singing. And you can see how much having someone like him fronting a band like Black Sabbath changes the whole paradigm. It's a completely different beast. Is it superior to Ozzy Osbourne's version? That's up for debate. I happen to be a bigger fan of this iteration of the band than Ozzy's Reign. But that doesn't mean that when Ozzy was there, it sucked. Totally the opposite. It's simply much more of taste and style. Now, taking a look at the sound of the drums. Punchy, bombastic, and it has a little bit of Led Zeppelin as part of the mix, don't you think? Because even the guitar has a little bit of this kind of, the song remains the same aspect to it, the performance and a little bit of certain passages that are played by the guitar kind of remind me of that track in a positive way. This is far from being a ripoff. And the drums kind of follow suit in that regard. What do you think about it? One thing, pay attention to the sound of the drums because they are quite bombastic. They feel super organic and natural sounding. And this is once again probably because this is harkening back to the point in time in which we actually cared for preserving the natural quality of music. Therefore, well, plenty of effort was there not to push the sound in a non-clinical fashion, if that makes sense. It's still quite work done, don't get me wrong. This sounds far from raw, but it still has plenty of the intricacies and the energy that could be only captured while tracking an incredibly good band projecting all of the energy in the world. You can actually feel the excitement on everybody's, from the bass to the. It's fantastic, right? Geezer is a fantastic bass player, and his tone is always top notch. Uh, from the bass tone to the powerful, raw, but pristine and clean sounding electric guitar tone to Dio's performance, don't you think? The sound of his voice is to the point, and actually probably, in my opinion, one of his best performances. I know that his solo career, he has plenty of great tracks in which he truly showcases his insane talent. And I think in Rainbow is where you can hear his best. But this particular album has plenty of gems that actually showcases and pushes his vocal prowess quite forward. I'm going to press play again, but now I want you to pay attention, speaking of the vocals, to some of the effects used in his performance. There is plenty of delay at several points across the performance. Delay, for those of you who are not familiar with the terminology, is the fact that we used to replicate or create replicas of a sound. It sounds like this, delay. Okay? The thing is that you'll see that what they are doing with his voice is creating an infinite amount of repetitions at a certain point, creating this self-oscillating effect. It sounds like this. Delay. Okay, I hope I managed to match my tempo or the timing of the effect being applied in post. But it's similar to that sound, okay? Try to chase it, because they will use it again later on at the end of their chorus. I'm going to try to draw your attention to that one, okay? And once we're coming back together, we're going to be discussing the fantastic sound of the mix. Here we go, rock and roll. Feel the spirit and you'll be behind the air is always a shame. Play with fire, you burn your fingers and lose your hold on the flame. It's over, it's done. The end of begun. If you listen to fools, the man Sorry for interrupting again, but look, the effect in question only showed up once before the fantastic introduction to the guitar solo, which, by the way, god damn it, wasn't that fantastic. Everything I said in the beginning of this analysis, but cranked up to 11. Everything from great showmanship of musicianship and musical skills to incredible integration between the band members, fantastic orchestration, to incredible amounts of energy and attitude. This thing sounds like it has personalities, is kicking ass and taking names and not giving a damn about it. And I love it for that very reason. This is excellent. Now, the mix itself has plenty of energy. As I said before, I'm trying to calm my own chest cavities because this mix has a lot of push in the sense of it being not necessarily loud, but it feels loud. Let me explain. Let's take a look at the screen. Over here, we got decibel, which is the tool that we use to analyze music through the use of a visual medium. This section over here is what we use to analyze the loudness of each of the different frequencies that comprises the frequency range that we can hear as human beings, starting at 20 hertz all the way down to 20,000, okay? Under 20, subsonic, above 20,000, supersonic, okay? Those are allegedly unaudible, but are still felt. Over here we got this white line, and it represents how loud each of the frequencies that are part of that particular frequency range were at their highest points. This is the what is known as the lows. In here is where we will usually find energy, projection, heaviness, and the beefiness of a track, right? It's not that big. Why is that important? It's because we're dealing with a song that I already mentioned before as well, that harkens back to the point in which music was still being pushed forward, music in the sense of production and techniques, but still being careful with not destroying the integrity of what happened during the recording process. When we're working with equalizers, are capable of boosting these frequencies, these bands, and we can create a hyper version of what was recorded. Don't get me wrong, this was clearly worked on and they applied EQ to make it more exciting. The thing is that you are not, you can still hear the room, the sound of the drums blasting inside of the room that they used for recording this album. And if you happen to know where they did this, please let me know, because that's also one of the kind of trivia that I love to always have in mind. Okay, please leave it in the comment section down below. But fantastic sounding. Also, you see that the mid range is this area over here. This is where most of the meat and potatoes of a track will be found. And see how close to the highest point of the track, which is the low end, the mid range is. This is important once again because this is one of the reasons why records from this era are easy to detect. They are not overly bombastic on the low end, and they are kind of heavy on the mid range. Later records, you start to see a little bit of a dip in the mid range, which makes them sound a little bit more hi-fi. I happen not to be necessarily speaking a fan of that sound, but it's very popular. Okay. Speaking of the sound, look at this area over here. These are the highs, super low, and you can see that we're losing high end at the higher we go. Again, another sign of the style of the time. This is where you will find definition and a little bit of excitement, and it's incredible how this is not that high in volume, but the song is plenty exciting. Why? I don't know. That's magic, man. That's probably one of the reasons why we always come back to these records to get inspired. I think because the music is so well done that and so well crafted, and the music itself has plenty of meaning. That during the recording process, the engineers and the production team understood and did their best, which clearly shows, to push that energy forward. So good. Now, after my very, very dramatic analysis, let's take a look at the second section of the analyzer. In here we got my favorite tool of this array, which is the dynamic range analyzer. And this is where we are actually capable of seeing how loud the track has been throughout time. This blue blob represents the loudness it was, or the loudness of the track while it was playing across time. And this is the introduction. This is just the guitar. And here's where Dio kicks in, shouting, and here are the drums. Bam! Just look at the jumping volume. This might look like nothing to you because you're not familiar with this, necessarily speaking. And for those of you who are part of the commandos, who have been part of the channel for a while, well, you're as excited as I am. But for those of you who are new to this might look like nothing. But in reality, this is the reason why, as soon as the drums kick in, bam, you're already rocking to it. The thing is that when music or sound becomes louder, it becomes more exciting and draws our attention to it. When something becomes quieter, it becomes more somber, more personal, sexier, evil sounding, you name it, right? And this track is the total opposite to the second, because you'll see that it's loud, and it only keeps getting louder. This is the verse, and see how we got this slight bump. This is the map. Here is where it comes back clearly. How do I know? Because this is the ending of the verse of the chorus. They leave Dio singing by his own, and here's where the band comes back with a bang. Then, if we go to the second half, we're clearly going to see yet another increment in volume, but this is insane because this is the guitar solo section. Clearly, see how loud it was. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the beginning. Look, It's gigantic. The difference is absurd. It's higher than ever. This is the highest point in volume of the track. It's important to keep that in mind because the correlation between the loudest point with the quietest point in any given record is what allows for excitement and interest to keep developing across time. If a sound, or if a song is mixed in a way that everything is always equally loud, it becomes boring and tiresome. That's why plenty of audiophiles have plenty of issues with remasters. And remember, just for clarification's sake, we're analyzing a remastered version from 2021. I don't remember the song sounding this way because I actually got introduced to this one using the original 80s. I think it was a late 80s version before reprint, okay? Before they cranked up the volume dramatically during the loudest war. That's a completely different topic. And this is also anecdotal, but I don't know why, but I have the feeling that the solo was different. There was a little bit of a section in which he played something different in my memory. I think I'm wrong, but this could be also yet another moment for those who are into the Mandela effect. I'm going to drop that there. I don't know. If you happen to remember the song having a different solo, please let me know because I'm quite intrigued. Okay, so let's listen to the final section of the track because, we're about to finish the song. So let's keep rocking and let's do it. Here we go. Just remembering mine, stop rolling and take you right back around. Kick-ass from start to finish. This track, short, to the point, and objectively speaking, fantastic. One of the best ways for rock and roll to be presented to anybody. If I had the chance to introduce somebody to Black Sabbath, I would always have the problem of deciding which version of Black Sabbath would be the best to introduce someone to Black Sabbath with. Why? Because if I were to introduce them to this iteration with Dio, I would definitely pick this one. The difference is that, or the point of content is, this is totally different from anything done with Ozzy Osbourne. And I can see why there is such a back and forth between fans, because I love both versions of Black Sabbath, right? But I happen to fancy more this iteration. Why? Because I happen to be a huge fan of Dio. I happen to be a singer myself, and I appreciate quite a lot his fantastic vocal style. Just for the record, he inspired me plenty when it comes to developing my own voice as a singer. So you can call me biased. That's why I don't necessarily take my own personal opinion as a very objective one in that regard. But also, I happen to be quite a big fan of Rainbow, and you can see a little bit of that in this version of the band. Especially if we were to analyze, which let me know if you would like me to react and analyze this song with you on the channel, which is Heaven and Hell. That one has plenty of not only Black Sabbath moments, but also you can hear Dio's influence and also plenty of Rainbow in it. Such a great song. But coming back to the Mob Rules, I don't know if it's a good starting point. So please let me know if you would do the same. If you find yourself in the middle and deciding which version of the band. Because if I were to introduce somebody to Dio and Black Sabbath, I would go for this one because it's short and straight to the point. But when it comes to Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, I think I might use War Pigs. But that would be my take. Please let me know what you think about that, and please let me know as well which would be your pick to introduce somebody into Black Sabbath. Now, with that being said, thank you for joining, thank you for watching. If you want to support this channel, the best way to do this is by leaving a like and leaving a comment, because believe it or not, YouTube doesn't give a damn about watch time anymore, it seems. Allegedly. So please leave a like at least, okay? But it's always good to have some form of conversation, because I love reading the comments. Believe it or not, I do read them, and I've been quite busy for the last few weeks, so I haven't been able to catch up with the comments, but I will. I promise this week I'm going to begin once again tackling comments on YouTube. With that being said, yes, the only thing left to remind it is, as every single time we meet you, or I meet you, I gotta remind you that you should never let anybody tell you what to dream about. Remember that I'll see you when I see you.